What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another exciting episode. Today we're taking a look at the brand new Megabass I-Slide 187R. So if you guys are ready, let's get right into today's video.
Nice fish. Sick. Another nice little guy on that I-Slide. Nice.
So the Megabass I-Slide, the original ones, they weren't the most popular baits. They were successful to guys that were fishing them, but the majority of people, they didn't really dig the original I-Slide 185 that we see here. Now, you might be asking yourself, why? It looks like it's a pretty decent looking bait. It's not too expensive. It's made from Megabass. Why wasn't it popular? And well, one of the biggest reasons why was the swim of the bait. The bait had a more S-style, slalom-style action to it, where it would kind of be on a more nose dive of an action, very similar to like how a gang craft swims. Now, in the past decade or so, the glide baits that had a more level and more fluid glide seemed to be way more popular. Examples were like the Hinkle baits or the Depths 250. A bait that was very level in the water column was much more popular for guys. Baits that kind of had the nose dive action wasn't very popular. And the I-Slide has that nose down action, and a lot of guys just didn't really jive with it. Again, guys that did fish it, they had pretty good success on this size, the smaller size, the 135, as well as the 262. So after some time, Megabass found this out and they wanted to change it up. And that's when they introduced the new I-Slide 187R. Now the R stands for revision or revolution. And at first glance, the baits look fairly similar. I mean, they basically are the exact same bait, but the biggest difference with the new 187R is the swim on this bait. The swim on this bait is that more fluid level glide that guys were looking for, especially for me. I'm a guy that I do like fishing those gan crafts, but day in and day out, something that's more level, I really jive with more. So when Megabass sent me some prototypes of this bait, I was super stoked on the way this bait swam. Now, how did they achieve this? I mean, they look exactly the same. Well, the biggest thing is a slight difference in the overall length of the hinge. It has been extended just a little bit more. And just that little bit more allows this bait to be a lot more fluid and level in the water. Basically the same size, just a few millimeters off. Weighs around the exact same, which is around 2¼ ounces. The new 187 is just a hair over 7 inches long. So it's a small glide bait. Now for me, small glide baits don't really come into play until like late spring into summer, where you kind of have to downsize. The fish aren't really cooperating and eating the bigger stuff. So that's why I've always liked having a 7-inch glide bait, and I've always gone back and forth between a few, like the Negotiator, the Gamecraft 178. But after fishing this one, I think this is gonna be my new absolute favorite. Just the way that it swims, the control that I have on the bait is excellent. So when I'm fishing it around some certain cover, like trees or rocks or docks, I have a lot of control on where this bait goes how long it stays in that zone, and just overall fishability has been absolutely improved on this bait. Now, one thing that they did not transfer over from the original Icelight is this neat little feature where the hooks are hanging by itself. Well, there's two little magnets, one here and one back here. The new Icelights do not have that magnet. It seemed like Megabass didn't think it was that big of a deal. I'm not a huge magnet fan, so when a bait has magnets like that, I'd rather actually just have the hooks dangling so there is no extra step. And then you can go on, like, do magnets have an effect on the fish's lateral lines and stuff like that? So I've always tried to stay away from magnets, so I'm totally fine without this bait having the magnets. So currently in the Freshwater Series, they make two different versions of the bait. They have a normal floating version, and then they also have an intermediate version. I've always gone with the floating version in glide baits if I can get them, just because I personally really like tuning the bait to swim exactly how I want the bait to do. And that's kind of what I did with this bait. So right around the times that I was fishing this one, my water temperatures were obviously on the warmer side. And when you have warmer water, baits are normally going to sink a lot easier or more. And so I put 1 gram of weight right here in front of that first hook hanger, and on my lakes right now, this bait, this floating bait with that 1 gram, is a suspending bait. So I can fish it, I can work it down like a foot beneath the water, and when I glide it and I stop it, it sits right there in the water and it does not move. So I love that. I love a bait that kind of just sits there and suspends after I'm done working it. Very similar to kind of how like a jerk bait is, where you get the bait to fish, work it, and you stop it and it doesn't move. And normally that's when those bites are coming. And then the intermediate can honestly go both ways, just stock. So if you're fishing colder water temperatures, this bait will actually float. But if you're fishing warmer water, this bait will be like a super slow sink. You can do the same thing and add weights on this thing as well. So it kind of doesn't really matter, because this bait sinks really, really slow even in that warmer water temperature. So far I'm really, really impressed with the sink rates that they have on these baits. They're amazing. Both options are going to be great for guys. If you want the floating and tune it yourself every single water temperature and be very precise, I recommend going with the floater. If you want something that you don't really need a whole lot of tuning with, go with the intermediate. They make them in great, great colors. I mean, super, super sexy colors. I absolutely love the colors on these baits. Now, the setup that I've been fishing the bait on has been just the Megabass Mark 56 in their P5 series. It's a newer rod, and I absolutely love this rod for baits anywhere from that 1 ounce all the way up to 3 ounces with treble hooks, just because this rod has such a nice, deep, parabolic bend to it. It's a super lightweight rod too, and it just makes fishing those smaller glide baits really, really fun. Megabass knocked this rod out of the water. It's a 7/6 rod, and it's basically kind of like a medium, like a medium or medium heavy swim bait rod. It's fantastic. The reel that I like to go with, this has just been the Bantam, the new Bantam 23 in the XG, so a faster gear ratio so I can keep up with the glide baits when I need to. The line is actually semi-important with this bait. I've tried it on 16 pound and I've tried it on 20 pound. I found that the bait swims okay on 20 pound, but 16 pound, I find that the bait really has a great fluid action, and it swims the best on 16 pound. So I know it's kind of scary fishing a bait on a little bit lighter line than what you're used to, but if you want the best action out of the baits, I highly recommend going with 16 pound fluorocarbon. One thing a lot of guys are probably going to be asking is, hey, how is the durability on this bait? If you guys saw the clips in the beginning of where I was catching those fish, as you saw, I was fishing walls, and sometimes I'm not the best caster, and I'll just fire this thing straight into a wall at full speed. And so far I've been very impressed that the bait hasn't cracked, hasn't broken. Sometimes the tail does pop out, but the tail floats so you can go pick it back up. And so far I've been very impressed with the durability of this bait. It's caught a lot of fish. I do like to always swap out hooks on my stuff, so I'm running right now size 2 and size 3 SC45 hooks. Same split rings are fine, and so far the bait has been absolutely amazing. You can fish it slow, fish it fast, you can fish it around cover, you can fish it out in open water. It's just been a really fun bait to fish, and I'm honestly saying that right now for this size of glide bait, it's my absolute favorite. So if you guys have any questions about the new Icelight, leave a comment down below. If you guys have picked them up from the recent batch that just released, let me know what you guys think about the bait. Other than that, thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, go out there and chase your dreams.